Welcome, everyone, to the dance floor, where life lessons are learned through the art of dance. I'm your host, Anna Harsh, and today I have a very special guest with me, Miss Megan Greenwood. She is a dancer, a choreographer, and the co-owner of BAM Choreography in Pittsburgh. Please welcome to the dance floor, Miss Megan.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for having me.
Megan, I'm so thrilled that you're back chatting with me again. I know it's been just a few years. We've met up when I got a chance to perform with your group a little bit in Pittsburgh. Tell us a little bit about that night, because I remember that there were so many kinds of people there, but tell us about that little situation that we danced for.
Yeah, so it was a huge combination of artists from around the Pittsburgh area. We made a big effort to include all different kinds of cultures and dance types and artistry. There was, circus performers there. There were acrobats along with different types of dancers. And we really wanted to do a community event that benefited a local nonprofit organization. That was our biggest call to doing what we call the PGH BAM Jam. We had you perform in our third annual. Sadly, we haven't been able to hold another one since the pandemic, but I'm hopeful for the future. We're all about showcasing what Pittsburgh has to offer. And then if we can also help a local organization at the same time, I believe our beneficiary for that particular year was Open Up Pittsburgh, which provides accessible yoga and fitness classes for kids and adults throughout the Pittsburgh region. So yeah, we really try to partner in great ways with not only artists, but really organizations that are doing big things.
I love that. I always love bringing communities together. Throughout the years, Allegro Dance Company has done shows for Big Brothers and Big Sisters and raised money for them throughout the years and given workshops or just, invited them into our space and say, hey, bring them over. Let's dance together. And we've done some things quietly that we just donate money to different organizations in general. But I think that's always important to give back to your community. And what a great way to do it. Let's gather around and start performing and sharing our gifts. And I just loved watching everybody perform. And I learned so much that night about you all and what you guys do and all of the things that are open up to Pittsburgh that I can't wait to be a part of again.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful night. Can't wait to do it again too.
So Megan, tell us a little bit about, let's back up. How did you get involved with dance and how did your journey begin?
Sure. So my parents watched me stand in front of MTV in the 80s and pretty much dance on my heels and toes to every Madonna and Michael Jackson video that appeared across the screen, right? So as a way to kind of harness that energy into a positive place, they signed me up for dance classes. And I took the initial traditional type dance classes, ballet, tap, jazz, when I was 5 years old. And I started at a studio that was very traditional, right? The costumes, the garb, the whole nine. When I reached about fifth grade, I realized, I like ballet, but it's not really my calling. So instead, they took me to a festival, actually a local festival, and we got to see a group called the Joyce Ellis Dancers perform at this festival. And I was just enthralled. I'm like, wow, are you kidding me? This looks exactly like the dancers I see on MTV, right? Like in all the background music videos. This is the kind of dancing that I want to do. So thankfully, my parents signed us up. My sister, Brianna, who is the co-owner of BAM, both me and her were signed up for dance classes. And we transitioned to work under Miss Joyce Ellis for all through elementary, middle, and high school. So we trained under her and in mostly street type jazz, hip hop, some modern, some lyrical, but all together more of a commercial feel type of dance. She was huge with community outreach and really understanding and sort of supporting the local community when it came to dance. So her lessons, I think, really, really invigorated us as we became adults and realized, oh, now that we are, out of high school, out of college, what do? We still want to dance. We're not going to New York to become professionals, but we still love to dance. So we garnered some mentorship from Miss Joyce, who sadly passed away last year.
Right. I heard about that.
Love her lots and miss her deeply. But we got some mentorship from her and then some other local friends who were starting to get back into the dance scene around that time. It was around 2010, about 12 years ago. that BAM became a thing again. We tried to get a lot of adult students at first because we figured if we're feeling like we miss dance now in our early 20s or so, I'm sure other people are too. So let's create some sort of organization that gets together people who were either former dancers who never danced before in the day in their lives, but would like to now. Let's bring them all together in a very informal setting, teach them dances. Primarily hip hop dance was our forte for the longest time. And it was catered to adults in the Pittsburgh region, at least for the several beginning years. We jumped around to different studios all over Pittsburgh. We never have had a brick and mortar studio of our own, but we've utilized and rented many other spaces. But from there, I would say we branched more into the community spirit, probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So right before I had my son, we got involved with kids dance classes, family movement type things. I got my group certification or group fitness certification. So I was holding some fitness classes along with dance classes. And we just really felt like dance sometimes can be intimidating to a typical individual. So we want to not only provide dance, but also just a general sense of movement in our classes. So come move your body, dance around. It's not a traditional one-on-one or traditional dance class per se in some of our instances, but instead it's a dance-filled fitness class.
I love that.
So we offer many different things at this point, but yeah, one of the biggest staples though was creating what we have is called the BAM Fam. So outside of our LLC, our for-profit LLC, we have a volunteer community of dancers, adult dancers, who come together and we do like 1 or 2 performances for a video. Typically, we record it. 1 or 2 performances per year. And it's really become a very tight-knit family. We almost have 20 members at this point. We are all inclusive. We tell everybody, if you want to dance, come with us. We don't care about your experience level. We don't care how old you are. We just want somebody who is interested in doing it, will commit to some practices, and will show up and bring their best foot forward.
Yeah, and I've seen those videos. They are so exciting and so fun. And I'm dancing along with them as I'm watching them sometimes. I'm like, gosh, that looks great. I mean,
thank you.
First of all, kudos to parents out there that are, taking us to those first dance classes, right?
Yeah. Big time.
Right? I mean, they're the ones that really do give us that first push.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Between my parents, my dance teachers, my grandparents who drove me to class. I really, really owe them a lot.
For sure. Same here. Megan, what inspires you as a choreographer? Do you have something that a go-to that you always look at or listen to that inspires your work?
That's a great question. The music at this point that inspires me is anything that gets me thinking, to be honest. So I do not restrict what I teach to a hip hop genre of music, for example. So, we pick at everything under the sun. Doesn't matter the genre, as long as it speaks to me that day and my brain starts to move, I'm all for it. I have a playlist on Spotify called Collab Ideas, for example, so it's
Love
just
it.
Music to think about. In terms of, other performers or artists that inspire me, I obviously look to local artists. Like I said, with our BAM Jam, we tried to get a lot of local people in the door, and then I watch and patronize their classes and videos and things of that nature. So they inspire me to do more. But also, I can't lie, I'm on Instagram looking at all the different dances and trying to get ideas like, well, how could we, do something visual? And I have this in my head. Has anybody done something similar? Let me see what's out there, So that is a wealth of knowledge, having social media, I'm not going to lie. I think just the group that we have, number one, to perform inspires me in and of themselves. And then just giving back to the community through dance, through fitness, through raising money, for example, that inspires me to continue pushing forward.
I usually have 2 things that inspire me lately, and that would be patterns, maybe architecturally, or if it's a fabric and I see a certain weave or a pattern, I keep thinking, oh, that would make a good floor pattern. How can I get dancers to create that pattern on the floor or a formation? And then people's stories really inspire me. How can I tell somebody's story through movement? Years ago, I was commissioned to do the life and legacy of President Lincoln and his wife for 150th anniversary, I believe. And I thought, I'm really going to look at his wife. And so I kind of researched her life, and she was really misunderstood. And so I started the piece with just her, at the chair, just with Lincoln's hat. And I thought, what was going through her mind? That was a lot of grief that she endured. So I kind of started my choreography piece from there. And then by the end of the piece, it became a duet that really turned the tables onto the audience. How do you enslave yourself? What's holding you back? What are you not letting yourself, enjoy or do or accomplish? And what freedom really means to you as the person, as an individual. So stories inspire me. Like I said, patterns, I'm looking at fashion a lot. My Italian heritage always comes into play. I'm always like, what is Gucci doing? What is Prada doing? So I just want to be inspired. What's the latest fashion? And then I kind of incorporate that into movement. And that could just be like patterns on the floor or patterns that the arm takes or something like that. So
sure.
I'm always interested what other choreographers like. How do you get that?
That's really cool. And one of the things that you just brought up was how it kind of merged into a duet over the pandemic, which I know we're going to get to that question. But what I've really kind of internalized is some of the artists that I truly respect, what they are doing now in the local area. And I've asked them to do duets with me over the course of this last almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I've really taken a lot from what they can bring to the table. So for example, I'm working right now with a local juggler who's,
cool.
Doing things with her hands, and that inspires me to do things with my legs, for example, that complement her. Or I know we worked with a woman named Arania Garcia. We both worked with her at the PGH BAM Jam.
And she's amazing.
We did like a side-by-side, video shot from home, from the safety of home back in 2020. And I was really inspired by the way she used the corners of her wall to move. And I kind of complimented her by going the opposite way in a different style, so I really get inspired by the way other people move, especially people who I just, adore and can watch over and over.
Maybe we could have an improv jam sometime in the future.
I'm all for that.
Oh, okay.
I want to do a collab with you forever.
I mean, we're going to get to that, girl. We're going to get to that. We're going to take a real quick break. And Megan, when we come back, let's talk about where do we go from here and what are we going to do next? So hang out, everyone. We'll be back. We're back, everyone. Miss Megan here. And Megan, I know we've been talking about choreography and what inspires us and all kinds of great things, but the last couple of years have been challenging to say the least. But where do we go from here? How have you pivoted, but maybe pivot turning kickball changed by now? Goodness gracious. Where have you gone? Where are you going to next? How can you change your business model at this point?
Yeah. So like everybody, our business came to kind of a crashing standstill in March of 2020. And instead of, kind of relishing in the fact that I wasn't able to go to studios anymore, BAM has always been a traveling studio. I've never had a brick and mortar building. So, we figured, the doors have now closed for us to, walk into anywhere. Who's really going to want us there, right? But instead of whining about that or feeling down about everything that we had built, one of the things that we did, and I think it was April 2020, was get together. I think there ended up being 6 different choreographers on the event that we hosted through Zoom. And it was a donation-based event, just to get people excited to dance again. We had all different genres on the ticket. And it was a way to not only, get the community involved in dance in the weird, challenging time, but also, of course, support our local artists who are majorly struggling.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was one big thing that I just really catalyzed the whole sort of virtual movement for us. And sadly, I was thinking about this when you asked me the question prior to the Zoom. We had literally, Anna, set up a virtual dance subscription probably like 3 months before the pandemic. And it was going to be a monthly,
Wow.
subscription-based program, which is still going on, mind you. We
Right,
still
right,
have it
right.
going on. But did we have a premonition? Like, it's so freaky, right? Like, why on earth did I offer this? Well, one of my main reasons for ever even thinking virtual was the fact that I'm a mother. I have two little kids. I'm balancing another full-time job plus dancing. And I
Right.
realized that a lot of our adult students, had similar challenges and similar time constraints. And getting to a studio is not as simple as it might seem, right? So you have to commit. You might need a babysitter. There's a bunch of different caveats
And
to
how do you get there if
how do
somebody
you
else
get
has the
there?
car? Right.
Exactly. So I really wanted to make something accessible as possible. And that was my initial, thought process with the virtual dance subscriptions. They're still going on. We have now, pushed a lot of our classes to the virtual platform. We basically converted my home basement into a studio. Mirrors
Same.
on the wall. We set up the camera so that either I could face right towards the students or they could look at my back and my face through the mirror, just like
Through
a
the mirror.
traditional dance
Right.
class. So we have those still ongoing. We're slowly moving into, in person again, as long as the studios are cool with us being there. If they want masks, things of that nature, we're happy to adhere. One of the other things we tried during the pandemic was some open air dance classes. So we hooked up at a park. Let's all hang out here.
Same.
Nobody really cares if we turn on some music and move our bodies in this little corner of the lot.
Right.
So that worked out well as well.
And those are
But
all good
yeah,
ideas right now. I mean, I'm doing the same thing. I have a rehearsal space in my basement. I've converted to a little professional studio where I can give one-on-one classes. Last year, I did a whole musical via Zoom. I never walked into the school at all. So, a lot of singing and dancing via Zoom is really challenging. It's like, well, who plays the music? And what do you know which way is right at this point, and downstage and upstage? So we worked through the challenges, but those all made a difference. My company did the same thing. We were outside rehearsing, and at this point my neighbors were like, great, can you let me know when the next rehearsal is so I can watch?
yeah.
And wave. And that's great. And sometimes I think maybe this unfortunate event created a different kind of community in a weird way, but I think we are all trying to help each other in the best way we can. And maybe those are good things that we'll keep. And like you, I did a virtual talk with a college all the way across the United States. I think they were in Seattle. And they showed my documentary, and then they wanted to have a talk back after they showed it to the students, which were in person at the time. It was right before the pandemic had hit. And it was great. I got a chance to see their reaction to the documentary, and then they had great questions and had a whole talkback session via Skype at the time. And I got off thinking, wow, that went pretty good. And I could chat with students, across the United States and in other countries and stuff. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do that again. Boy, wow.
Yeah. You have been. Well, I think that's one of the beautiful things that was created from this, right? Like the opportunities that now exist for people in Southwestern Pennsylvania. I took a class from a girl in Los Angeles. I took a class from several people in New York. I mean, it's just wonderful to be able to share the art now. And there's no longer that barrier, I feel like. If choreographers, if the artists want to share a class through Facebook Live or Instagram Live or Zoom. I mean, not only are they opening up their student base, but allows for us to train in so many different styles from so many amazing choreographers all over the world. So I really hope that piece of it, despite what happens next, doesn't go away.
I agree. Outlet. This connection that you can have accessibility, because that was really lacking before. How do I connect with somebody that is in Los Angeles? Mm-hmm. Well, I can call them and Facebook them or something. But now it's like a lot of technology has really pushed the boundaries of wow, I could learn a piece of choreography like that. I mean, all of my dancers were all over the United States before we got a chance to get together and perform this past summer. And so we really rehearsed via Zoom or some other way like that, and didn't get a chance to really connect till maybe a week or two before, a festival. And I'm like, oh my gosh, hi, I'm your partner. It's nice to meet you. And it was great to kind of have that connection all of a sudden, that we kind of created these friendships before we met in person. And then it was even sweeter, and a deeper conversation was had in person. So I liked it in that regards. And it has inspired me to do different kinds of choreography, to think, how do I do dance for the camera now? Like, so it's become like a video shoot, like you said, back to the beginning of your story.
Yes.
When you were watching those MTV videos, I was right along with you, girl, in the 80s, watching that, thinking I could be a solid gold dancer one day, but here we are, and now we are dancing for the camera in a different sense, and creating those visuals for the public to watch in a different way. So some things haven't changed in a sense, and some things have just been updated and improved, I think.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Megan, you're a delight. What would you say for the next generation? How can we help them? What's your advice for dancers that are out there thinking, maybe I don't want to do dance anymore? How can we turn their minds around saying, it's okay, things will get better?
Well, I mean, I don't want them to lose hope, number one, because I do feel like after traversing the last 2 years, there is still a large support system surrounding artists. And if anything, like you said, it's kind of brought us a little bit closer. And we now know who else is out there. And we now know who else has the gifts, right, that can inspire people from all over the world. So right. I don't want folks to just give up hope based on what has happened in the short term here. However, if dance is not your forte, I recommend that you still keep it in your life in some way, shape, or form. So if that means attending a local dance class, if that means dancing in your kitchen to Alexa, I don't care. Just keep moving, because that's what's most important. It doesn't matter if you become a professional dancer or not. Keep moving. And there's always ways to give back as well. If you still want to, maybe perform a little bit or hold a class or something like that, even if you don't want to go the professional route, look at your community. What do they need? What kind of classes could you give to the kids in your community, in your area?
Absolutely.
To the schools, to the rec centers, the senior centers. There's a number of opportunities to still be involved with movement, even if, dancer is not the top of your resume.
Right. There's so many ways to support the arts, like you said, attending a show, creating opportunities for somebody to perform is another way you can also help, provide a venue, maybe, book that shelter at the park and created an event for families to come and enjoy. And maybe you're not performing, but maybe you could help coordinate that. Or I'm always looking for people backstage. If anybody wants to wrangle some costumes for those fast changes, please contact me. There's lots of ways to support and be involved without dancing per se on stage, So I love that. Don't give up hope and keep watering, all of your creativity, whether it's writing, painting, maybe it will come out in a different way. Or maybe you're really good at this camera work, or maybe you're really good at some of these apps right now. I know some of my students are like, no, Miss Anna, this is how you do that. Let me show you on your phone. And I'm like, great. You just taught me something new. So, be helpful in different ways. And to make that show still go on, I think is, how can you be evolved right now? So I love that.
Absolutely.
Megan, thank you so much for being on the dance floor and sharing your wisdom. If anybody wants more information about BAM Choreography, where do we go?
Well, you can look for us at bamchoreography.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at BAM Choreography. You can also email us, bamchoreography@gmail.com. We are open to coming to you at this point if you are feeling safe and want people around. If you want to book us for different events, parties, small group lessons, we are available in person or virtually.
I love that. Okay, everyone, you've heard it from Megan, and her sister, their amazing events and their knowledge is endless, an endless list of things that they have to share. So please hook up with them and give them some love and maybe join us on the dance floor sometime. for real. We get together and we'll have some kind of jam party for sure in the future. Megan, I appreciate your time, and we'll tune in again and see what events we'll have maybe this summer.
That would be wonderful. Looking forward to it, Anna.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the dance floor. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Anna Harsh. And until next time, keep moving on the dance floor.